Okay, we are recording now. Yay. After a few technical difficulties.
We
Of
expect new.
course. Yeah, I'm going to try to switch because it looks like I'm looking in a funny place. Okay, that's better. Because I had the phone tilted on the side, so it was showing that it was like I'm looking off into space or something.
No, that looks good. I like the horse in the background.
It's a nice picture. How are you doing today, dear?
Good.
Good. I still don't know what I'm calling the podcast officially yet, but here we are, and it is the official, very rough initial episode,
That's
complete
okay.
complete with technical difficulties and all.
I said to have a name for 4 days. We don't have to name important things immediately.
That's true. So, how's your weekend been going, Bethany?
Um, Good. Yesterday was kind of rough. Just
Mm.
needed a day off, but then just let myself get really distracted by social media instead of actually relaxing, 'cause social media is not actually relaxing. Surprise. And then this morning just felt really called to go into the courts of heaven and do a little spiritual legal work with God and um, deal with some of the past to be ready for the present and move into the future. So it's,
Love it.
yeah,
I feel like you're in my head with that one.
I'll send you the podcast. It's
Oh, good, good, good. I do like my podcasts. Um, so yeah, everyone knows me. I'm Marnie, and this is Bethany. She's my girl. She's awesome. You're gonna want to listen to her. If you don't listen to her, then you're wrong, I guess. I don't know. She's talked many a moments of sense into me, especially over these last few months. We've been friends for what, a decade now, I think it is.
about, yeah,
Lordy. And what a decade it's been.
2 divorces,
Oh,
moves. Yep, yep.
Lordy, literally a lifetime has passed. Um, so I mean, I guess people know a lot about me. I'm not sure exactly where to start. Like I told you, I don't really have a format right now. It's been really heavy on my heart to work on a motivational speaking podcast. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna quit dinking around and I'm just gonna jump in and start doing it. So
Yeah, starting a podcast has been on my list too for a long time, but I've been on several podcasts and I was thinking maybe we should just join forces and just do one together instead of each launching our own, but
we would
maybe
we would
launching,
totally rock that.
I don't know. I mean, we can just see how it goes and do our own thing and do episodes together and just, I don't know.
We'll figure it out. The right thing will fall into place. As you know, the right thing will fall into place when it's supposed to fall into place. And you and I have learned that lesson very hard these last couple years. So,
Yep.
um,
No wrong way to do a podcast other than not do a podcast.
exactly. The only way you fail is by giving up and not trying.
Yep.
So, I see you opening something down there, and I know exactly what that is. So, why don't you feel so backtrack a little bit. Um, Bethany, that's your new name, Bethany. I'm sure you've been called worse. Um,
Brittany.
um, Bethany and I, first and foremost, both have an extremely strong faith foundation. And we both, just because we're very strong believers, does not mean that each new day, as blessing as it is not a fight to stay on that track because there's so much hurt and pain externally, internally, recovery, growth, constant growth. And that kind of blossoms into another layer that we have in common is we both have a very deep passion for bettering not just our lives, but encouraging and bettering the lives of those around us because we know, again, backtracking, we were called to love others. And the best way that you and I are finding we can do that is to take our gifts, to take our pain, to take our experience and channel that into something positive. I'm kind of my little saying, and I'll just kind of get it out of the way at the top is you never know who your story or your life or your fight or your journey is meant to inspire. You never know who, like us each at our own times, was hanging on by their last string emotionally and in some ways physically because it's so exhausting. You never know who needs to tell your story. God would not give us these stories, these journeys, if they weren't meant to be shared and used in a way to honor Him,
Mm-hmm.
which is loving others. It's it's that simple. There's a lot of moving pieces, but it's really that simple. And so we're both huge on personal growth, branching out from that, personal development. You know, both being busy women in our own rights, we were like, okay, how do we stay organized? How do we focus? Okay, now we've got this extra layer of balancing a co-parenting, two very unique co-parenting situations. Um, and you came up with something that, I mean, I'm obsessive with my list and I'm rolling with that for now, but you came up with something that I absolutely love. I think it is genius, and I think so many women and probably some men would benefit from it too, like men or women, because it, it's a struggle. It's a busy world out there. So why don't you fill us in a little bit about what you do and your ventures and how you spread growth and joy to other people?
Yeah. So oh gosh, where do I even start? Uh, well, I grew up in a Christian home, and it took me a few years and some bumps in the road to really find God for myself. And um, I like to start with that because above all, I'm a believer in Jesus and trusting Him, and God has the best plan. But we also need to make our own plans. And I've been sober from alcohol for 7.5 years. And
Good for you. I'm so proud of you for that.
thank you. Well, I switched to food and struggled with some binge eating for a while, did some eating disorder therapy. That's all pretty healed and managed, but we still have to eat every day. So it's still like an ongoing thing to eat every day.
Mhm.
I've been a parent for 9 years, 10 if you count being pregnant. Uh,
Of course.
yeah, I have had a lot of adventures in my life. I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Alaska, I've lived in North Carolina, I live in Minnesota, ready to move. Um, in 2018, when I just completely blew up my life, I decided it was time to be sober, and I committed to 30 dry days. And I didn't really have a plan beyond that. I felt like nobody in my life, including myself, is going to take me seriously. And I had just begun the process of separation and family court and divorce proceedings and all of that. So I knew the judge wouldn't take me seriously for custody of my children if I didn't get sober, or at least start. So I committed to 30 dry days, and it was really a wild ride. I loved it. I was really surprised at how easy it was and how much I loved it. I know that's not the story for everyone who quits drinking. I know a lot of people have a really, really hard time not drinking. So, I want to give credit where credit's due. A lot of people are always like,
Mhm.
you don't drink. I'm like,
It's
God,
not always that simple.
God did it. And then I switched to food. And then from food, I moved to social media. Spending a little too much time on social media is something I think a lot of us can relate to.
Hmm.
And um, spend a lot of time in therapy, a lot of time doing legal things for the divorce and custody things. I am still currently 7.5 years later in family court. We divorced and had a parenting plan and settled some things. And I was just waiting because I knew
Hmm.
the day would come when he would abuse our children. And the day came last year, and we had CPS, and I won't get into all the things, but we are still in the thick of it. So that is a huge thing that keeps me sober. Also, I don't want to be hungover. Like I don't want to deal with my life with a hangover. And so
Hmm.
sober tears are enough. I don't need drunk tears too. Um, so sometime in probably 2020, maybe 2019, no, it was 2020, I started to get a vision for a self-help program that I wanted to create based on sobriety and
Hmm.
healing. Uh, I don't think I would have been able to maintain my healing without all the natural wellness things that I had, that I learned, that I spent money on, that I committed to. Um, I didn't just take alcohol out of my life. I put in all these good things.
Hmm.
And I think I think that's a piece that a lot of people forget about sobriety is when you take something out, you create a vacuum in your life. And if you don't fill that up with good things and the things that you actually want, it's so much easier for that old stuff to come back in and to stay in those bad habits. And it's really easy to say. It is. It's a very simple process, but it's hard to genuinely implement it day in and day out. So sometime in 2020, I started to get this vision and I wrote out in my journal a visual of a planner I wanted to create and
Hmm.
topics to discuss as part of this course. And I decided to call it 30 Dry Days. Simple, catchy.
Hmm.
A lot of people are familiar with 75 Hard, or there's also a similar program called 30 Strong, I think, where it's not quite as intense as 75 Hard, but
Hmm.
this is a different whole different thing. So 30 Dry Days is really simple and very hard.
Hmm.
The first step is you give something up for 30 days. Could be caffeine, sugar, porn, alcohol, social media, whatever that thing is that you feel like it's just taking up too much time and energy in your life and it just really needs to be wrangled. Maybe it comes back on day 31. Maybe it's done forever. When I committed to 30 dry days, I wasn't necessarily like looking forward to day 31 if I'm going to drink on day 31. I just have to get through this. I was just looking through each day, just trying to get through each day, one day at a time. And my life was really chaotic. And that was when I started to use a planner because I
Hmm.
keep track of things. I couldn't just have it in my head. And I had started previously to use a planner, but I really started to get religious about it in 2018.
Hmm.
And and then in 2020, I created my planner.
I remember when you did that.
Yes. No, crazy. It's crazy that it's been 5 years, 4 years.
Mhm.
When did I get?
Five.
All the Facebook memories come up when I have the the first round of printing of my first planner, but it's it's unlike any other planner that I've ever seen ever. I know people think like, oh, just get a planner. Oh, use a planner. Oh, this new planner is going to change.
Mhm.
This one is different, and I'll get to why it's different in just a moment.
Mhm.
So that's the first step. The first step of 30 dry days is you give something up. The second
Mhm.
step is that you use the planner. Right? Crazy. So
Details, details, Bethany.
the third piece is really what's going to blow your mind. That's really the secret sauce. So, like I said, by giving something up, you create a vacuum, and in that vacuum, you put the planner, and then in that planner, you put your life. You create the life that you actually want to live.
Hmm.
And again, simple to say, hard to execute. And the third piece is being accountable to yourself. So it's really easy to write something in a planner as something you want to do. It's a little harder to write in a planner. I did that thing that I said I was going to do.
Hmm.
So I've walked people through this, and it's it's really a life-changing shift to really
Hmm.
commit to planning and executing your life the way you want it for 30 days. And so this is, I don't know, is it mirrored? Can you see it regularly?
Yep.
But even if it's not mirrored, it's they're both the same.
Hmm.
So on every night of those 30 days, you plan your goal day.
Hmm.
And I teach people how to plan for the things that don't get planned for,
Hmm.
like transition time. My kids know this term, transition. It's not what most people talk about transition as. We won't go there. Transition in our home is the time between we're home and we're out the door.
Hmm.
We're in the door and we're home. So that means gathering up backpacks, water bottles, lunches, shoes, whatever it is we need for going out of the house, and then coming home and taking care of those things.
Hmm.
Planning for transition also means planning for driving time, parking, arriving, going in, transitioning to where you are going to be. You know, like if you're going to swim lessons and they start at 6:30, what time do you need to actually arrive so you can get in the locker room, change, and be on time at 6:30 lesson? So what time does transition at home need to start? That you start gathering up the towel and the swim clothes and making sure you've had a snack or whatever the food thing is. That's another important piece of this is when are you going to eat?
Hmm.
So many people just fly by the seat of their pants when it comes to food, and then they wonder why they're having problems, why they're, why binge eating at night, or they're getting fast food all the time because they're not planning for their food.
Hmm.
And then the final piece, the secret sauce, really, that just really, I think, brings this together to really create the life changing shifts is over here, where
Hmm.
you're accountable to yourself. And that's such a game changer because it builds trust in yourself. So many people, especially people who struggle with addiction, don't trust themselves.
Hmm.
You know, they say, "Oh, I'm just going to have one." Suddenly it's bar close and you're still going strong. You lose that trust in yourself of, I'll just have one, I'll come home, I'll go to bed early, I'll get up and I'll do my errands.
Hmm.
Suddenly you're so hungover and you can't do any of those things that you wanted to do and you don't trust yourself anymore. So by being accountable to yourself for 30 days, you're building
Hmm.
trust with yourself and that accountability because nobody's managing you.
Hmm.
Your mom, your dad, your boss, your kids, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, nobody's actually managing you. You are managing you. And so this whole system helps you manage you better.
Hmm.
Do you have any questions so far about all that? I know I just threw a whole bunch of things at you, and I know we've talked about it before, but anything that,
Right. One thing that jumps to mind is a similarity too, kind of branching off what you were saying. It's not just when you, I mean, it's not just when you have an addiction that things become difficult and hard. What I really struggled with, a few years ago, thank God, hard work and God, I'm doing better, but is when people are suffering from self-confidence issues for any reason, or if they are in depressions of any level, especially a deep depression, people don't realize that when you're in a really dark place for any reason, especially for depression, that it is not as simple as just getting up and washing the dishes. Your mind is so tired. Your body is so tired. And people will say, oh, just relax. It gets better. No, no, it's not that simple. But I also try to have grace because unless you've literally been in the thick of it, like truly been in depression, you don't know. So I always try to have grace for the people that don't understand. But I just drew that similarity of that self accountability is part of why I started making the lists that I do all the time. And I'm still not, up to bat on that. So being able to have like, okay, this is what I want. Oh crap. The only thing on this list that I did was wake up in the morning. Um, we need to regroup tomorrow and do it a little better. So it literally puts it in front of your face, and I love that.
yeah. Can I point out something that you said there that I think is really important
Yeah,
to
of
re
course.
the way you said do it better. I like to say do it differently
Okay.
because I think when we say I want to do tomorrow better, it kind of puts this feeling of shame of like oh,
Mm.
bad today and we're going to do good tomorrow versus today didn't go exactly how I had hoped. Maybe it was circumstances, maybe it was choices, usually it's both.
Hmm.
But tomorrow I can do it differently.
I like that.
And it's the same kind of language I use with my kids. Like when something doesn't go well, like when we're running late for something,
Hmm.
I like to talk about, well, what didn't work so we can make a plan for next time to do it differently.
I absolutely love that. That is perfect.
Yeah, I love it. And it builds capacity in us and it just takes away that shame piece that we feel like I can't do anything right,
Hmm.
doing anything. All I did was get up. I didn't eat enough today. I ate too much today. I, you know,
Hmm.
let's take the shame out of it because we don't need that. That doesn't serve us. And I know that's, again, easy to say, but hard to do. And part of the way we can do that is by taking charge of our life. And I think it's also really crucial. And this is the next piece of 30 dry days is within that time, giving yourself the time to get ready for your day and
Hmm.
giving yourself grace and space to get dressed and have breakfast and take care of your mind, have some time with God, do some journaling. And again, easy to say, hard to do, but let's say you have a 10 o'clock appointment or you have to be at work at 9.
Hmm.
Planning your day is going to help you visualize that timeline of when do you have to get up, which means when do you need to go to bed. People like to applaud getting up early as like the holy grail of success.
Hmm.
I really think it's actually going to bed early is the holy grail of success, of that
Mhm.
go of today and accepting how today was and preparing for tomorrow and accepting that tomorrow is coming and that we can do tomorrow. I feel really
Mhm.
passionate about helping people go from I don't necessarily want to die, but I just don't want to wake up tomorrow
Yeah.
to I'm excited for tomorrow. I feel ready for tomorrow. I feel capable for tomorrow. I
Hmm.
I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do and I know I know tomorrow is going to be good
Hmm.
and taking charge. And part of the way we get to that mindset is through the holistic wellness pieces that I have tied in through 30 dry days.
Hmm.
Because when we take something out that our body is used to having as a coping mechanism, as that
Hmm.
fire for our nervous system,
Hmm.
all hell breaks loose.
Oh yeah, it's basically you're removing that artificial dopamine
Hmm.
from your life.
Hmm.
And not to diss those things, but some people just need to remove these things
Hmm.
for, for their benefit.
Some things I think need to be removed entirely forever. Some things just need to be better managed.
Hmm.
And sometimes that abstinence piece really helps create the awareness and discipline and healing so that we can bring that thing back in with moderation.
Hmm.
And so each of the 30 days comes with a lesson. And that's the piece I'm still working on creating is making these videos and these lessons and getting them in some sort of online library forum to be accessible and talk about what is a morning routine and what is an evening? What is dopamine dressing? Have you heard of dopamine dressing?
I have not heard of the dressing reference, no.
Not salad
Well,
dressing.
I know that.
Getting dressed and taking time and intentionality to create the dopamine from caring for yourself
Okay.
and putting on clothes that get you excited. Getting dressed just for the sake of getting dressed is not dopamine inducing. Putting,
Mhm.
fresh sweatpants is not necessarily dopamine inducing. Yeah. Yep.
What one thing kind of branching off of that, and it's somewhat in the same category, is I'm guilty, as we all are at some point of, 3, 4 days straight. If I have it, I am just in lounge clothes. I'm lucky if I shower. Even if I'm productive around the house, I'm just in the comfortable clothes because I'm not going anywhere. What
Mhm.
I'm trying to do, and it's easier said than done, is get into the practice of, okay, even if it's mid-morning, even if I'm staying home, still get changed, still do my hair, still even just put on like powder, do something for makeup. Like just whenever I do that, I feel like I'm opening myself up to, okay, day, you're here. What
Mhm.
can we do together?
Yeah. Yeah. Not every day has to be a makeup day or a
Mhm.
fancy outfit day, but just taking that time because what that does for your nervous system is it shows you it's safe. It shows you that it's okay to take that time for yourself. You don't have to rush off into some crisis of survival, whether
Mhm.
that's, someone else's crisis or your own crisis of, got to pay the bills, got to clean the house, got to, get my kid to school, got to do all this. And, not every morning is going to be this serene, quiet time and nourishing breakfast and blow drying your hair. And it's not reality. But what we can do is what we can do. And chances are you have more time and capacity than you think.
Hmm.
not using your time well.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, and you and I have had this discussion many times of everything you do, every thought you have, everything you contemplate or try, everything is a choice. No matter how hard your circumstances are, no matter
Mhm.
how emotional you are, no matter how insert expletive here it might be, um, everything is a choice. And so I think tying into all that, you need to choose to open yourself up to that better day, to doing it differently, as you said. Because if you
Mhm.
don't open yourself up to it, you're just going to keep coming up with excuses. And again, coming up with excuses is another choice. And that's why
Mhm.
I always say I like to preface things with if I say why something happened, I will either round it up with or preface it with it is not an excuse, but it is a reason. And
Yes.
once I've drilled that into my head, that's a big difference. It's like I have reasons out the yin yang why things in my life happen, and they're legit. That's
Mhm.
why these things happened. But I say it's not an excuse because I'm working so hard every day, as I know you are, to hold myself accountable for the choices that I make and the things that I do.
Yeah. I just realized something. How are you hearing my sound on your end?
Really good.
Okay, okay. Because sometimes, like, I have my phone on a surface, and sometimes it's like
Mhm.
a suction over the speaker. So I just want to make sure
No,
that
I can hear you really well.
so then I'm sure the recording will be just fine. I figure you probably would have said something if you couldn't hear me earlier, but
Be like yo yo yo
anyway, technical problems solved.
for now.
And I think, I think it's so important to give yourself grace for those bad days. Like
Amen.
today and yesterday are just so different. So different.
Oh,
In
I was praying for you yesterday when I saw your post of I took today off and just left it at that. I was like, oh Lord. Okay. Let me
yeah,
stop for a minute. Got to send a couple out there for Bethany.
yeah, you know, we really need to acknowledge the physiological impact of trauma
Mhm.
and the nervous system and the brain and our brain's number one job is to keep us alive.
Mhm.
It's not to solve problems, it's to keep us alive. And so if our brain senses danger and we can't turn that off, we can't go into problem solving mode.
Mhm.
We just can't. No matter how much we think about it or we talk about it, because the amygdala, the survival part of our brain, it doesn't run on words and logic. It doesn't run on telling yourself, oh, you're safe now.
Mhm.
It runs on feeling safe.
Mhm.
And part of the ways we can bring that safety to ourselves,
Mhm.
there's, of course, trauma therapy and EMDR and all those types of other tools. But a great way to show yourself that you're safe is to take care of yourself. Eating breakfast, not being starving. Our body doesn't really know the difference between I'm
Mhm.
cold, I'm hungry, I'm being chased by a lion, or I'm being assaulted. It does
Yeah.
like our survival brain lumps all of those in the same category. It fires up all the same fight or flight, adrenaline,
Mhm.
and all that stuff to keep us alive, even if you're just cold or just hungry. So by taking care of ourselves, we can help alleviate some of that stress on our amygdala by not
Mhm.
putting our own crap on ourselves. And I think that yesterday was a combination of the legitimate trauma and just stress and exhaustion, just a lot of things going on this week, going this month, this year, this decade. You know, I got some sort of food poisoning
Mm,
Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So like then I had to work and I just like I was just running on fumes.
mm,
And then a schedule change. Normally I'd be with my kids this weekend, but they're with their dad. We swapped weekends. Um, and so, my nervous system looks forward to reconnecting with my children. And when that changes, then I feel unsafe. I feel out of control. I feel,
well, and no matter how grounded, and I speak this knowing you and I both understand this, and probably many people listening to this understand that no matter how much healing and how much growth we've done, anytime, and I'm just going to be blunt, and it's not a personal thing towards anybody, it just is what it is. When we have to wait or change, whether our fault or someone else's, any time away from our children is hell.
Mhm.
It
Our,
is pure hell.
yeah.
My heart like is literally broken in half, and that's why some people don't understand, like, well, how can you be so far away from them? And I'm like, I just really don't engage in that conversation. You know far more than most people know, and I it's so hard to put into words, but it is literally like I keep it at bay, but anytime I'm not with them, whether I'm in the same state or, a few states away,
A part is a
like
part. It doesn't matter
it
if
doesn't. Your heart, your soul, your system does not know any different. Those are your babies and they're supposed to be with you, but they're not.
yep. Yeah.
And I just like, you and I've had this conversation many times. It is hell.
Yeah. And it takes so much energy and consistent work to keep that at bay, to keep the prefrontal cortex
Mhm.
thinking brain online as opposed to our survival brain. Because our brain is thinking, there must be a predator eating my children because they're
Mhm.
not here with me.
Right.
And the rational brain, it doesn't always come online when we need it to come online.
No matter how much healing we've done, we can't control that because as a mother, not to just fatherhood, but as a mother, that is literally our physical instinct from the time of conception is to protect them.
Yep.
And I can't.
Yeah. And I don't want to sit too much on this because
No, that's a conversation for a different day.
but I think it's really relevant because I think so many people can still relate to the pain of separation.
Mhm.
Whether it's separation from a child or a partner or a parent or a friend or a career or other stability in the world.
Mhm.
There's acute loss that's specific, not acute, like, oh, that's so cute.
Right.
Acute meaning one type or one incident or one specific thing. And then there's ambiguous loss that I think 2020 is a really good example of ambiguous loss.
Mhm. I agree.
And we don't have to get into the who's and what's and whys of that, but
Mhm.
so much changed in that year that it was just a massive like I feel like kind of like the chills in my body a little bit of it of that it was such a ambiguous loss. There's so many pieces to it, so much nuance, and it was so different for everyone. And now there's just after that. There's just now.
Yeah.
We'll never go back to 2019 life. We'll never go back to pre 9/11 life. And part of healing is really learning to be okay with that,
Hmm.
learning to grieve. I cried like so many times. Like I cried yesterday. I can't tell you how many times I have sat or laid on my kitchen floor just sobbing. And
Hmm.
I think so many people don't want to sob.
Hmm.
It's hard, it's uncomfortable. Maybe as kids we were just told don't cry. But I think it's so necessary because of this, the way it soothes our nervous system.
Well, and it's important to, if we're human and you don't want to stay in those spots, which is part of why you've come up with the 30 dry days program. But we need to honor the feelings that we have, whether that's flushing them out by crying, whether it's talking to someone, whether it's texting Bethany all night, even when she's not going to answer to vent. um,
Sleep.
yeah, like, or if it's laying in bed for a couple days, don't do it more than that. Um, but then you take a deep breath and be like, okay, how can I turn whatever that was now that I've honored that I had those feelings? And how can I turn it into something positive moving forward? Um, because the flip side of that is, and what I'm still working on, but became a big part of the downfall in my marriage and several others, is lack of communication or snowballing of reasons why you won't communicate, whether it's their fault or whether it happened when you were a child. But you suppress those feelings, it will affect everything moving forward, whether you realize it or not. And yeah,
And it,
those I've had those much, much fewer and far between now because I'm in a much different place. But I have had those sobbing nights on the kitchen floor. I've had those sit down in the shower and just cry for 30 minutes.
Mhm.
People don't talk about that, and that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah,
As long
there's
as
no,
you're not doing it all day, every day, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Mental health is, it sounds cliche, but mental health needs to be discussed.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, if you're crying all day, every day, you need a little more help than
Hmm.
I can offer. Um, but it's it's so important because that crying creates a chemical cocktail in our body.
Hmm.
It releases hormones to soothe us. And it's something we can't cry when we're fighting for our life. The cry comes after and it shows us that we're safe.
Yep.
Because when you're running from a lion, you're not stopping to cry about it. You're
No.
But then when you finally outrun that lion and get to safety, there's just this collapse in your body where your body recognizes what just happened and processes that through and comes back to the present moment.
Hmm.
And sometimes crying is the answer. Sometimes we need to do other things. And, we won't get into all of the types of self regulation and co regulation right now, but just we'll just limit it to crying.
Hmm.
And I think that when you have that panic, the body creates all these chemicals to give you the strength and energy to flee, to fight. But then those chemicals are in you. And so then when you cry or do whatever you're doing to regulate, that processes those chemicals out. Like the
Hmm.
snotting, the tears, the coughing of the gunk. Like when my grandma died, I cried so hard I threw up.
Hmm.
And that's the only time I've ever cried that hard that I threw up. Not in my marriage, not anything else. It was when the day my grandma died. I cried so hard I threw up.
Hmm.
But it's not really a good cry unless you're snotting and drooling and getting mascara on your forehead. Like it has to be the whole production because that's flushing those toxins of fear and trauma out of your body.
Hmm.
So important. It's a physiological response. And then that creates the new chemical cocktail. Just like there's no chemical cocktail like an orgasm, there's no chemical cocktail like a good workout, there's no chemical cocktail like a good cry. They all do different purposes in our body.
Hmm.
And and so then once you've cried and you've released all that, it creates space in your body and
Hmm.
mind. And you need to fill that back up with good things. Just like with 30 dry days in sobriety, you give something up, creates a vacuum, you fill it with good things. But same thing after a good cry to to do the things that make you feel alive. That's often why we feel a new renewed sense of purpose and energy and clarity after that because we've come out of survival mode. We come
Right.
back to our purpose for existing, to laugh, to have fun, to create, to co-regulate, to be fruitful and multiply, to be in community. And it's so important to have that follow-up piece and not just get back to business. Yes, there's always tasks we have to do to survive, to get through the day, to pay the bills, do the dishes, go to work, pay the bills. There's always those tasks, always. I'm talking about doing the things that make me me and make you you and bring us joy just for the sheer pleasure of experiencing the thing.
Hmm.
What are some things that you like to do that bring you joy and create happiness in your life?
I'm not gonna lie, I still struggle with answering that question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, I enjoy music. I love animals. Time with my kids. I watching anything Gordon Ramsay or um, going to get my massages, which is partially a necessity and partially a pleasure thing. Um, Going for walks, going to the beach, traveling. I think my struggle with coming up with all those is feeling so guilty for so long for doing anything that was for me.
Yeah.
But I'm also so chill and go most of the time. Like I'm up for whatever. You want to go thrifting? Great. You want to go for a walk? Sure. You want to go fill some water jugs at the spring? Sure. Which I
Yeah.
still need to find a new one. But
Well,
I digress.
I think a lot of people, you know, I think part of it is the survival mechanism of
Mhm.
I can't have fun because I have to work.
Mhm.
I think that's one piece of it, but I think another piece of it is more on an emotional level of I'm I'm not worthy to have fun.
Right. Or it's not about me, it's about everybody else but me.
Yeah, the codependency piece or the people pleasing, or it can also come from childhood of not,
Mhm.
not having our needs met, not having our wants met either. If our needs aren't being met, our wants definitely aren't being met. And showing ourselves that like I said, I talked about how like that morning routine,
Hmm.
nervous system, that we're safe to show up for the work of the day or the fun of the day or both. I think every day should have work and every day should have fun and every day should have self-care
Right. For sure.
and every day should have something for others. And I
Hmm.
think that that's hard. And I think some people might hear that and go like even for me, I don't do that a lot. But just recognizing it's not all about surviving. It's not all about me thriving either.
Hmm.
Thrive in community. And when we put ourselves in that community, we are doing something for that community, for others. It's filling us and it's filling them. So,
Right.
um, connecting with a friend or offering something to a neighbor. Like my sons got new bike helmets because they were outgrowing their old ones and we had them for a few years. And one of them was a Chase Paw Patrol bike helmet. And I gave it to my neighbor for her little boy. He's 3. And my 8-year-old has definitely outgrown the Paw Patrol helmet. And both like physically his head's gotten bigger and he's 8. He doesn't want to be riding around
He,
it with Chase.
he's too cool for Paw Patrol now.
But he still wants to watch it on TV, but not around the neighborhood kids.
I won't tell anyone.
We won't tell.
No.
But by giving that, just as it's just kind of a simple thing, but it's something that I'm serving my family by getting rid of things we don't need, and I'm blessing another family by giving them something they can use. And I think that we don't really think of something like that as serving others. Like it's just, oh, I got rid of something I don't need. But it can be. And
And it's not even a financial thing. Like even if someone isn't in a financial place where they need provisions like that, f- you never know. It could just be the day that they needed to know that somebody else was thinking of them because they're struggling in other places.
yep,
We don't know, and it's not our job or our business to know that.
yeah, unless they come to us or we
Hmm.
build a relationship. And um and so I think that we often spend a lot of time not doing any of those things.
Hmm.
And then we wonder why we feel so depressed and unfulfilled and tired and hungry because we're doing other stuff.
Hmm.
That's being on social media. I need to be on social media less. I know this. But I also will congratulate myself that, well, at least last night I didn't go to the liquor store. At least
That's
at least I was on social media, not Tinder. You know?
right.
I think it's important to not just berate ourselves for mistakes, but to honor the choices that we're making that are bettering ourselves. Because
Hmm.
I could have made a lot different choices yesterday. And just like no one knows how much time I spent on social media in the last 24 hours, nobody would know how much I got at the liquor store or who was in my bed from Tinder. Like
Hmm.
we have to be accountable to us.
That's where the integrity part comes in.
Mhm. And
Hmm.
the self-love, because, you know, maybe, maybe I felt unworthy to do other things yesterday. Like this is all I'm good for. Maybe I just was really stuck in a loop of pain and I needed a distraction. Maybe I just didn't want to do the work. Like there were staring at my pile of laundry over there that I was intending to fold yesterday, but didn't. There's a lot of things I could have done that wouldn't have been helpful yesterday, and there's a lot of things I could have done that would be helpful.
Hmm. But if you don't love yourself, none of that's going to matter.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean we do it perfectly every day. That doesn't mean that I failed my whole life because I had a bad day.
Hmm.
Like, I think it's really important to acknowledge what did go well on those bad days.
Hmm. We've been given grace for a reason.
Hmm. Yeah. And part of sobriety is rebuilding that community
Hmm.
that you thought you had. Part of grief is the same thing. 30 dry days isn't just for people who don't want to drink alcohol anymore or who don't want to use porn anymore. It's for people who've had a major life change, whether
Hmm.
it's a good one, like they got married or they moved to a new city or they started a new career. Maybe it's a really bad life change, like a divorce or a loved one passing away or losing a pet. Losing a pet can be very traumatic.
Hmm.
And that's also not really talked about, the loss of a fur baby.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's just a daily, hourly process of committing to love ourselves well, the way Christ loved us, and accepting his grace and forgiveness and forgiving ourselves
Hmm.
and breaking the agreements that we made with the enemy. That, circling back to what I said initially about going to the courts of heaven,
Hmm.
when we make choices that aren't guided by Holy Spirit and selflessness and goodness, sometimes they're just neutral. Sometimes it's,
Hmm.
that serious. What shirt am I going to wear today? We don't necessarily need to pray about that. But who I'm going to marry, that's probably a good thing to pray about.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But when we make big choices that alter our reality, sometimes those choices become agreements with the enemy
Hmm.
and they open doors for spiritual things that we're not even aware of. And I think that was a big part of yesterday was spiritual warfare and being attacked by the enemy and not taking accountability until this morning for
Hmm.
myself and my sin and my choices that led me to this.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. I feel that.
Yeah. I can blame my former husband all day long for the things that he did to me, but it started because I kissed him while I was in a relationship with another man. I cheated on my former boyfriend with my former husband.
Mm.
And I had to deal with that in the courts of heaven.
Hmm.
I was guilty. I brought on a lot of the circumstances that I'm in today. But because of the blood of Jesus and because we are those who've accepted Christ and repented and turned to him, we can go to God and ask for that forgiveness again and ask God to take that contract back.
Hmm.
I made a contract of betrayal with the enemy when I cheated on my boyfriend. And that contract continued in my marriage when he cheated on me. And I feel like I reached a whole new level of healing in coming to court with that this morning, to go to
Hmm.
and deal with it.
Hmm. Good for you.
Thank you. But I think that this is a new concept to me, the courts of heaven. I've just recently learned about it. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're being faulted for things they don't know.
Hmm. Of course not.
But I think if we are really honest with ourselves, we can go back and see where the choices we made led to the circumstances of today.
Oh, absolutely, 1,000%.
And a lot of people don't want to do that.
Mm-mm.
And they don't want to do what it takes to change those circumstances now
Hmm.
and take
Well,
control.
too many people look at it as, well, it happened that long ago. What difference does it make what I do about it now? It makes all the difference.
Totally. Totally.
Hey.
And excuse me. There's just a lot of layers to healing,
Mhm.
sobriety, and living the life that we want to live and aligns with God's purpose for our life.
Mhm.
Because we can't fulfill God's calling on our lives when we are stuck in addiction and trauma and chronic illness. Because
Mhm.
I was going to bring this up, but then we got onto something else. But when we were talking about the emotions being in our body,
Mhm.
that's where chronic illness comes from. The body keeps the score. It's a very, very popular trauma book that everyone should read or listen to the audiobook. But um, when we feel anger or fear or sadness, those are literally chemical reactions in our body.
Mhm.
It's not just a thought of, oh, I feel sad. It's literally happening inside of our body,
Right.
that our physiology is changing. And when we don't deal with that, when we don't forgive ourselves and the perpetrator or God, I had to deal with being mad at God too.
Mhm.
When we don't deal with that, we keep it in us. And then our bodies can't function
Mm-mm.
when those emotions are stagnant in us. And they're blocking our liver or our heart or our lungs or wherever those pesky little emotions get lodged. It's real.
It is. I know that all too well, and it's a daily struggle.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I think that's also where that self-care piece really comes in
Mhm.
play because it's one thing if your liver is clogged up from anger. It's another thing if you're feeding at McDonald's multiple times a week. You know, like those are two different things that need to be dealt with. And I'm not saying never have McDonald's. I'm just saying you know, maybe
Maybe
just not,
sparingly.
yeah, and then pay attention to how you feel. I I hardly ever eat fast food anymore because I know how it makes me feel.
Hmm.
Because when you are having that stuff all the time, lots of processed foods, your body just gets used to that and you just have this kind of chronic level of inflammation and indigestion.
Kind of like that day a couple of months ago now when you had the free Jimmy John's.
Nice. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. And I, I,
Our conversations for the next 2 days were
yeah,
quite illustrated.
I think about, how good that sandwich tasted. Fast food tastes good.
Hmm.
Designed to taste good. It is filled with chemicals that taste good. But then I think ahead to how I felt that night and the next day, and my digestive system didn't like it.
No, you were over at my house the next day.
Yeah. So it's important to know that about yourself
Right.
and to have the self-love and discipline to plan ahead.
Hmm.
You know you're going to get hungry. It's okay to meal prep.
I got
And
to work on that.
that's part of where we work on with this. We also have a week plan.
Nice. So, like 1 week at a time
Hmm.
throughout the book.
In a month. Well, we have the month. This is, I'll show you, November.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's
It's
still October, isn't it? Yeah. I don't even know anymore.
hard to tell because it's so the
Oh, I
plan
see.
is undated.
Nice.
So one of the reasons I like it undated is one, it's never going to expire. I'm never going to have to get them reprinted because that time has passed. And two, writing those dates takes ownership of those dates.
Hmm.
That says this is my life. This is happening. November is coming. I have a dentist appointment November 18th. That's coming.
Hmm.
But it's at 11 a.m. across town. So on November 17th, I'm going to make a plan to make sure that I have my meals, whether I need to, you know, eat a meal before or bring a meal for after or what else might come up for that day. And that to some may seem a little much, but
When you have a life of chaos, you need that.
yeah, knowing where your next meal is coming from also gives your nervous system security.
That's a very good point. I did not think about that.
Because,
That's really smart.
yeah, and not everyone has the finances to be eating out. Or maybe the like, oh, I'll just eat out stresses you out because you're like, I don't
There's
have,
nothing that's good for me. It's all expensive. Blah
yeah,
blah
it's
blah.
$25 or it's going to be crap. And both of those options stress me out. So
Hmm.
instead, I can spend $3 and meal prep a nutritious meal that I enjoy. And
Hamburger and rice with barbecue sauce. I love it. I had rice today with rotisserie chicken and seasoning, and it was perfect.
nice. Yeah. I eat a lot of barbecue beef because it's
I
familiar,
love it.
easy, it's affordable, it's consistent,
And it's protein.
and it's protein. And I can mix it up. I might do a burger bowl instead. Um, but the I'm trying to think of how to land this plane and give key takeaway points of, you know, you want to go from surviving to thriving,
Hmm.
but how? And I think, taking out that one really toxic piece of your life is huge. as we've talked about, but then you have to have the tools to replace it.
Right.
And so focusing on your meals, your sleep, your sunshine, and your community. That's four, I think those like four pillars, the squares. Your sleep, your food, your sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
outside, movement, just going for a walk. Even like a 10-minute walk every day is still gonna make it
Mm-hmm.
better than I'm totally guilty of not. Yesterday I didn't go outside until like 6:15, right before the sunset. Totally could have
Mm-hmm.
earlier. Would I have had a better day if I'd gone outside right after breakfast and gone for like a 15-minute walk? Probably. Would that have been all my nervous system needed to reset for the day?
Maybe.
But maybe not. So I'm not going to guilt my or shame
Right.
myself for not doing that, but I'm going to bring that awareness into next time.
Mm-hmm.
And then community. Did I reach out to any of my friends yesterday? No. Did I go do something with people? No. So as hard as it is, because trauma makes us feel like people are unsafe
Mm-hmm.
until we know they're safe. And sometimes we find that safety with other trauma survivors because we know they get it. And it can be hard to spend time with people who don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Reality is that we all get it. We just have different names for it.
And different versions of it that we've been through.
Hmm.
Because you
Yeah.
and I have both been through divorce, but they were very different divorces. You and I are both co-parenting, very different co-parenting situations. But it's all, at the end of the day, it's all still trauma because it's comes from a place of grief and loss. No matter the situation, it's still grief and loss.
Yep. Yep. So having a plan for your day
Mm-hmm.
can give you an anchor that you probably didn't know you needed.
Mm-hmm.
And
God knew you needed it.
and sometimes it's really hard to execute that plan. It's one of the ways I kind of look at it is that it's like not having that first drink, like by doing that first thing kind of sets up the pattern. Like if you have that first drink, where's it going to go from there?
Right.
If you don't have that first drink and you have something else instead, you know, I want to wake up every morning and like my instinct is I want a cup of coffee and smoke a joint. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That's what I want to do. And
Hmm.
that's what I want to do with my morning. That's how I want to start my day. But is that reality? Is that feasible? Is that honoring to God? Is that honoring to my temple? No, no. That cannabis is going to scorch my dopamine, and that caffeine is going to skyrocket my cortisol. And then that sex might soothe all of those things, but I'm also single and I'm not going to go there. But,
Hmm.
you know, instead, having water, having a nourishing breakfast, sitting at the window, getting some sunshine, you know, play the tape forward.
Yeah.
And that can be really, really, really hard in the moment. It's so easy to say. And I think it's so timely that we're talking about this today after yesterday.
Hmm.
And
Kind of branching off and revisiting the points that you just made. Um, after someone has a day like you had yesterday, and you've heard this next line from me multiple times before, and especially after my car accident that I shouldn't have walked away from almost 4 years ago now, and just every things that I've been through since childhood and in general, and I know you've had your share. I repeat to myself even still, every single day, whether it's just in my head or whether I'm talking to someone and it comes out loud, no matter how difficult our situations are, no matter how hard our lives may be at any given point, and I get choked up because I feel this to the core. We all had the chance to wake up this morning. Not everybody got that chance.
Hmm.
And what are we going to do, even on the days when we are struggling? What are we going to do to acknowledge that? I think it's a combination of what you said at the beginning of this call was, how can I do it differently?
Hmm.
Make sure that I don't find myself in this place again. Um, but then also, I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I can piggyback off of that
Okay.
with my perspective of I I feel like every single day of my life is a vacation compared to what it was like living with him.
Yeah. I hate that you went through that. I do. I have told you this and I hate it for you.
I have this beautiful apartment and the washer and dryer in my apartment. There was a time when living with him, we didn't have a washer and dryer, and he chose to not spend money to get us a washer and dryer. He's there was money, but he had other priorities than a washer and dryer. So I had to take our laundry to a laundromat. And laundromats have their pros and cons. You can do 6 loads of laundry in an hour and a half and it's just done. And then you don't have to think about it. That's nice. But you got to haul it all to the car. You got to haul it into the laundromat. You got to do it all. You got to bring it back to the car. You got to bring it back in the house. You got to put it all away. It's just not the same.
Hmm.
And then I've also lived in an apartment where the laundry room was down the hall. And
Hmm.
it was community laundry. So it wasn't always available when I needed to do laundry. And I wasn't supposed to do laundry at night. And, you know, now I have a washer and dryer right over there that I can use anytime. That's amazing.
Hmm.
And it's so important to really remember all those good pieces.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
that yeah, as hard as it is, as much as I don't want to or I don't feel like folding that laundry, we have more clothes than we can possibly wear, and I can wash them right in my own home.
Hmm.
That's amazing.
I love that for you.
I love that for all of us. Like, I don't think we sit in that enough of, I think if you really sit in all the good things that we have, like, honestly, I could just sit and cry of having running water,
Hmm.
flushing toilets, air conditioning, heat, safety in our homes, you know?
I mean, it sounds cliche, but home is what you make it. And so many people take for granted the things that they have in their home.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's like, okay, it's no secret. I want a mansion. I want a big, beautiful house. Like, I want that.
Big mansion.
And Bethany's going to live in the guest house, and we're going to have daily massages, and it's going to be glorious. And we'll take vacations to the Virgin Islands a couple times a month. It's going to be beautiful. I guess it's all planned out for us. I might need to run it by another party. However, if I come up with the money, I'm going to make it happen. So
Then you come up with the money.
when I do, because something to some capacity is going to happen. But I digress. Like, it's no secret. I mean, for crying out loud, I want the Glen Sheen mansion in Duluth. I would love to live in that home, you know? Um, but I would much rather, um, and you know how much this hits home right now. I would much rather have a very small space, a little tiny house where you can, barely turn around and there's always something to fix,
Yep.
but it's home
And it's
and
safe.
it's safe and it's a roof over your head and it, it's a different perspective and I love it. And
Yeah.
it makes me grateful for there's a lot about it that I'm grateful for. It's slow pace. It's allowing me time to have peace right now. And it's, you got to look at everything and there's always something to be grateful for in every situation, whether it's a washer and dryer or whether it's just knowing I'm safe.
Yeah. And using those things like the washer and dryer and the running
Hmm.
help bring that feeling of safety to my
Hmm.
feet. So then I can move from survival to thrival.
Right.
Another huge thing that I'm so grateful for with this apartment is I can wash my hair here.
Yeah.
It's a super first world problem. I've had hot water, I've had showers, but the water quality was just so terrible. I really can empathize with Flint, Michigan.
Oh, Lord.
Um, at my old apartment and at the townhouse I lived in before that, the water was just incredibly hard. And it was really challenging to actually wash my hair. And here, I can just get in the shower. This water is better. I can just wash my hair.
Yay.
Amazing.
Well, your hair looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I blow dried it today.
I know it took you like an hour.
Forever. But worth it.
You should totally do like some Farrah Fawcett hairstyle with the reverse curls from the front. You would rock the heck out of that.
Oh, totally. I I have a heatless curl thing that I want to experiment some more with and
Mm.
try more.
Or do a crimping iron and layer, like crimp by layers. I mean, mine's a little fuzzy, but that's kind of what I did today to give it a little bit of life.
I
Because
try not to,
I may or may not be a day or two overdue for a hair washing, so I had to give it some life. I
yeah,
did shower each day though.
okay, hair washing is a whole ordeal. We could
It
do
is.
a whole podcast on the trauma and energy and self-care and self-love of hair washing.
Eh, you know where I'll be taking suggestions on topics and all that jazz. So if you would like to have an episode about the trauma of washing your hair, we can do that.
Well, I think the avoidance of hair washing ultimately stems from feeling like I just don't have time to do this,
Hmm.
which is just a lie. But it's a
You're
trauma.
you're choosing not to make the time to do it.
Right. It's a trauma belief of I'm not worthy to have clean hair, or I'm worthy, but I just don't have time. But
Hmm.
if you don't have time, what are you really doing? What's holding you back? And that could be so many of the things that we want to do in life, not just hair
Right.
wash, but you know, creating creating the videos for this course that I've been working on for several years. How long would it actually take me? Like in all the time I spent on social media yesterday, I definitely could have filmed 30 videos for 30 dry days. But I wasn't in the headspace to do it. But the point is that I had the time.
Hmm.
I didn't have the capacity, but I had the time.
You might have had the capacity had you taken that morning walk, or you might not have.
Maybe.
But you don't know that,
Yeah.
and you can't change it.
Yep. I can just do it differently.
I'm going to totally use that now. I love that you say do it differently. That's
I'm
awesome.
so good. I think it's just we just need to take shame out of the whole equation.
Hmm. And I think what people seem to misunderstand regarding what, take the shame out of it or don't. be hard on. I mean, obviously, if there's some extreme crime, negative, bad thing, yeah, be hard on yourself because that was flipping awful, kind of a thing. But something like what you're describing, or 95% of the things in life, just don't don't be hard on yourself over it. Don't you can't I totally forgot where I was going with that too. My brain is like in shut off mode today. Um, I think you knew where I was going with that though.
Of giving ourselves the grace.
Yeah.
And it's reparenting ourselves, really,
Mhm.
of giving ourselves the compassion and care that we needed as children that we didn't get. We may not
Yes.
have cognitive specific memories of not being able to do things or being required to do things, but we remember how we felt.
Right.
And that's one thing I think about sometimes, like part of the reason I feel like I'm so challenged with feeling safety is because
Mhm.
I've just had so few long-term tangible experiences of safety, of
Mhm.
getting my needs met, of saying I'm hungry and being fed, of saying
Right.
I'm cold and being warmed, I'm sad and being comforted.
Right.
Just over and 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 over again. It's just something that we need so deeply. And when we didn't get that as children, which so many of us didn't, or
Hmm.
did, but then we moved into a new situation where we didn't,
Right.
where something changed. Um, and and so having that felt experience of safety is really important. And it's if we haven't experienced enough of that, it's really hard to go back
Hmm.
to that.
Right.
I don't think that's talked about enough.
I agree 1,000%. You could get a whole episode on that too.
The felt sense of safety.
Mm.
Because I talk all day long about how I'm safe in my apartment, but if I don't feel it, I don't believe it.
Are you safe here?
Yeah. Am I safe with myself? Or am I still scared that someone else is going to come hurt me here? Or someone's going to come home and hurt me? Or is it just me? That's the problem. You know,
Hmm.
there's layers to it.
Absolutely. I just wrote down because I remembered what I was kind of trying to go for about being hard on yourself. The misconception that a lot of people have about, you know, it happened, I can't change it, or it happened, what can I do differently? The choosing to not be hard on yourself does not mean that one has a lack of acknowledgement for what happened. And a lot of people seem to associate, well, yeah, but you still did it. Oh, okay, I did it, but I can't change that. And what good is it going to do to sit and over and over and over say, you did that? That was awful. Why did you do that?
Hmm.
Not that the why doesn't matter, but in the big picture, unless there's something, I'm not saying you shouldn't examine it because there could be something, deeper rooted, and usually there is, but the label needs to be removed that just because somebody says, don't be hard on yourself, or I can't change what happened, this is what I'm going to do moving forward. They're acknowledging it. It doesn't mean that they're trying to make up excuses. And I think a lot of us have had issues going down that path because we felt like, well, if I'm saying it, I can't change it, that's a blanket excuse when really it's not, because you're still acknowledging it as long as you do something to make it different.
Hmm. And I think the flip side of that coin is the forgiveness piece. Like
Hmm.
think if I forgive them, then that means what they did was okay. No,
No,
no.
not
It
even close.
it means that you're okay with not getting anything from them about it.
Yeah. No, there have been a handful of things from childhood up through adult years. I mean, and this was all on me, and it was a big struggle, but one of the most recent things is, you know, I'll preface it by saying forgiving does not mean that you have forgotten something has happened.
Hmm.
Um, and one thing that a certain somebody has drilled into my head, and you can probably figure out who that is, um, is that don't keep associating negative things or in certain individuals with dates. Don't keep doing that over and over because every time you do that, that gives them and the situation ownership. It gives them life and it gives them an identity over you.
Hmm.
And it took me a long time to struggle through that, but I knew that it was coming from a place of love and care and genuine compassion. But the car accident that I was in, I woke up one day just completely unprompted. I don't even remember that I had a dream the night before. This was probably a couple of years ago now, because I think it was late 23 or early 24. I honestly don't remember exactly when, but I just woke up one day and it was so heavy on my heart. Forgive him.
Hmm.
And I just said a prayer to God and I forgave the guy who, bluntly put, I should not have walked away. He is lucky he's not sitting with murder charges.
Yeah.
Um, but I forgave him. He'll never know I did unless he sees this. um, no, but I had to do it. And when I did that, like I still struggle because I have physical remnants, but
Yeah.
it was so empowering to forgive because it released the hold that he had as part of the story. And I don't even know the guy
Hmm.
ever met, but that all just stems from what you were saying of give the forgiveness. It doesn't mean you're not going to put up boundaries. It doesn't mean you're not going to care for yourself. It doesn't mean you're not going to acknowledge things,
Hmm.
but forgive.
Yeah.
I think there's a little thing in the Bible about forgiving people too, if I remember correctly.
First, it goes something like, if you don't forgive them, I won't forgive you. I think that that's
Well,
how
and
it,
I need a whole lot of Jesus, so I better work on my forgiving.
but I think more distinctly is when Jesus was hanging on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do.
Yeah. And
You
he didn't know what he was
know,
doing.
all people of all situations, if anyone had the right to hold a grudge, it would have been him in that moment.
Hmm.
But no, he knew that they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
And he knew because he was God, he is God, he knew this had to happen. And I think that's an important thing to process in all of these terrible things that we go through.
Hmm.
You know, why does a good God allow suffering? The shortest answer is to bring about his purposes.
Hmm.
And we could do a whole podcast on that. But that we don't know all the things,
No.
why we went through the things that we went through. But we can trust God that just as his word said, he's working all things together for good for those who
Amen.
love and are called according to his purpose.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good place to land the plane and wrap this up.
Probably is. I don't even know what time it is.
2 hours.
Oh, it's not bad. Let's see, what time is it? It's 5:20 here, so it's 4:20 there. There you go.
How about I pray for us and we close it up?
All right, sounds good, darling.
Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you for loving us. Thank you for the opportunity to encourage each other. And thank you for the opportunity to share our stories and our wisdom and your love on this podcast platform. And I just ask that you would speak through us and that we would speak what you want shared and that we wouldn't bring gossip or bitterness to the conversation, but that we would be honoring you and each other and our audience as you've called us to minister to people who are hurting and encourage people who want to grow despite that hurt and or in spite of that hurt, and using that as a catalyst, as the fertilizer for growing stronger and sharing more of your love and your plans for us, plans for good and joy and peace and goodness. And I just thank you for that and ask your blessing on the rest of our day and our weekend. And um, thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, darling.
Love you.
I love you. I miss you.
I miss you too.
My muscles miss your mashing.
They're good.
They're good. Yeah, I'm feeling it. It could have something to do with being in my 40s too, but I think I just miss you. I miss your magical touch. All right,
Yes.
darling. I love you. Thank you for the insight, and I think we're definitely going to need to have you back on here because there's a lot more to be said.
We could do so many episodes.
Oh, we're going to have to. I like the idea that you had about doing most of it joint too. I think that's a good way to join forces and be effective with time too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
We'll talk more off
All
off
right.
offline or off recording.
Yeah, sounds good. I got to figure out where the recording is. Oh, stop video. Okay. All right. Love you, dear. Take care.
Love you. Bye.